Hey everyone, Patrick France here at VectorVest, and here is my hot stocks for moving average setups. Hopefully you guys enjoy them. My name is Patrick France. I'm a senior instructor here at VectorVest. Been here for about 10 years now, specifically focusing on our mobile application. Every Thursday, typically I go live on our Facebook page. So if you're new here or you're not already familiar with that, head over to Facebook, search for VectorVest, like the page, turn on notifications, because we do a free live stream every single Thursday at around 11 a.m. Eastern, where we talk about, different trading techniques, new functionalities or new features, all of that within the mobile app. So great for on the go, especially, if you're going to be traveling or whatever it may be. We teach different little tips and tricks on how to make the app really fit everybody's needs there. So my two stocks here today are going to be AIV and EXPD. You can see I have one of the very few buy-rated stocks currently in the list that we're looking at here today. Also have one of the highest RT stocks that we're looking at here today. If you're going to be a trader, if you're going to be looking for short-term gains, momentum is definitely going to be key. My other pick, EXPD, had a little bit higher RT earlier today. But I like the fundamentals a little bit better, so that offset the lower RT. And as we take a look at the graph, you'll see that, it does have that opportunity to see that RT really starting to pick up. So I see we got EXPD as our first stock. What we're going to do is we're going to change the layout to the Star Search layout. If you're not familiar with it, it's a layout that we've had for quite some time. It was founded by Dr. Barbara Starr. Very smart lady and very knowledgeable in the markets. Jerry probably knows more than I do about her, so if he wants to talk a little bit about it in a moment, he most certainly can. But what we're essentially looking at, it's not necessarily the basic definition of a moving average like we just saw with Glenn's. What we're looking at here is two sets of Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands, if you're not familiar with them, are based upon exponential moving averages. So both of these, I believe, are based upon a 20-period exponential moving average. And then they move them, they expand them out from that moving average based upon standard deviations. So what we're looking at is the outside band is based upon a 3 standard deviation move from that 20 EMA. And the inner bands is based upon a 1 standard deviation move from that 20-period EMA. And at the bottom, we have DPO. It's a great indicator. Really, really good for short-term momentum to identify new uptrend starting, new momentum starting. Great for divergences, which if anybody knows or if anybody's familiar with me in the past knows I really like trading divergences. So I really like DPO, and adding them together really gives you a lot of insight on what's going on in the stock. So looking at EXPD, what we're looking for is the two sets of Bollinger Bands to start converging and then start separating. Well, they were separating here earlier, but you're not only looking for that, you're looking for the DPOs to cross above 0, which the 20 or the blue one, I believe, is just right at that 0 line, maybe a little bit above it. The red one clearly is above it. So that's showing that a new momentum is starting to emerge. And then you're looking for, the best way to classify the Bollinger Bands is like the driving on the highway. You have 3 lanes here. You have the slow lane at the very bottom. You have the middle lane in the middle, obviously, and then you have the fast lane at the top. So everybody, if you want quick gains, you want to go faster. So what you're looking for is a stock to move from the middle lane into that fast lane, essentially. As we can see, we were above it in that fast lane here today, but we started pulling back a little bit throughout the latter half of the session so far. So what I'm really looking for is follow through tomorrow, or that it can stay in that upper or in that fast lane, essentially, and that we see the DPOs continuing to pick up, showing short-term momentum still building up. I see Mark's asking why 2 DPOs, because they're looking at 2 different periods, a 9-day and a 20-day, One's a little bit faster, one's going to be a little bit slower, to give you an idea on the momentum of the stock from two different perspectives there. But looking at it though, I'd like to see those bands, or the outer bands, start to expand here going forward over the next couple of days. And I'd like to see price really start to emerge as the winner in that fast lane, essentially, as we move forward over the next few days throughout the market. You see it. You saw it. If you go back even to a 6-month graph, you can see this stock has a lot of consistent history. Every time it's got into that fast lane, it's made significant gains and great runs that could easily be capitalized upon from any trader. So this was my first pick of the day, is going to be EXPD, mainly because it's starting to get in that fast lane. And if history has any way of repeating itself, most likely we can see some new momentum starting to pick up here very soon. So that's going to be my first pick for the day.
All right. Well, I'm going to add that I like the squeeze with the Bollinger Bands. It's just leveling out right now, moving a tad bit sideways. And I'm with you. I'd like to see that DPO 20 get above 1. But you know what I do like about it as I look at it? Look at the trend on the DPO 20 is trending higher. I'd like to see it break above. The DPO 9, the faster one, which is going to have more gyrations, is just around that zero line, but staying above. I'd like to see, and if I could draw a freehand line, I'd like to see it break out of its downtrend as well. And I think that as it goes higher, see that little downtrend on the DPO 9? I'd like to see it break up above that, as well as the DPO 20 break above, but it's setting up. This was all of, and I like the idea that this was a different way of using moving averages, using the DPO. So moving averages don't always have to be solid, 8 and 20 and this and that. These are moving averages incorporated within the Bollinger Band. So that was a different take on still using moving averages. And, the alligator jaws. I want to see the alligator jaws. I want to see the two moving averages, really, the outer bands start spreading apart. Jerry?
Yeah, I like it. And I'm sure earlier today when Patrick picked it, price was well into that fast lane.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Back. Yeah, you could see it's pulled back off of the high. I'm sure the DPO was above 0.2. So an entry for me would just be, a rally today to end the session, or as long as price stays in that fast lane tomorrow, I'm not going to really need price to go above today's high tomorrow for confirmation. Just let it stay just above today's close. Let it reside in the fast lane. That Bollinger Band squeeze represents, rather lower volatility. And the idea is once price enters into the fast lane, you're likely going to get a pop in volatility, increase in volatility. You can see, when the bands expand historically, price rides that left lane nicely. So you're getting, increased volatility. Price is riding that fast lane. So I like the pick.
Okay. Patrick, here's your next stop, bro.
All right.
Hold on, I'm working on it. There you go. Okay.
And then AIV, a little bit different, but as you can see, same setup. If you guys hadn't guessed it yet, all of my picks today came from the Star Search layout, or the Star Search itself in the Unisearch. That can be found in the Pro Trader folder at the very bottom. But AIV was another one. What I was looking for is, a stock that had pretty low volatility, setting up for a pullback recently to get a little bit better of a price entry point. But this one, is moving sideways, started pulling back, gapped up big here today, and is not only starting to see the expansion in the Bollinger Bands. You're seeing the DPOs picking up nicely. Ever since I picked this, it's gone up nicely here again today. But it's getting outside of that sideways action we were seeing throughout, when is that? July or so, July, August, coming into September. You start to notice that we're above that. If you drew a line, created a level of resistance, you can see we're definitely out of that level here today, and maybe tomorrow get some follow through that would give even more confirmation. But I definitely like the way that this is starting to expand. It's in an area that's commonly overlooked recently with all the runs that we've seen in technology, biotech, those types of stocks. So it's a little bit different of an area of the market that we haven't seen quite a lot of movement out of recently. Yes, it is at the upper extreme on that top band there. So if you're nervous about the big gap up, worried about it pulling back, a good way of keeping yourself protected would be by, putting a line in the sand at the low of today's candle if you don't want to let it come all the way back to get out of that fast lane. So you could do that. That would be, a fairly conservative way of minimizing any loss or protecting yourself without having the stock, have to pull back significantly before you get that exit signal with it. But this would be more of an aggressive one. The fact that it comes out of a REIT, is definitely unique. Usually you don't see these types of big moves coming out of this area of the market. But hey, if it presents itself, it has a good setup. You're starting to see the jaws expanding, if you will. Has potential to continue to move higher, and DPO and everything else is confirming it.
I like the move. Both DPOs shot up like a bat out of Hades. And the thing that does scare me is I like riding in the fast lane. Right now, it's riding in the shoulder. And that's the scary part. That's the only scary part. It's riding outside of the band. The gap, the DPOs, everything is right in line. And, the squishing of the bars sitting in the middle. Sitting here and the stock was moving sideways and the gap up. That's my only concern is outside of the bar, outside of the band. Let's go see what happens tomorrow, if it's still going to continue to stay in the fast lane, or if it stays in the shoulder, most likely it's going to have an opportunity to pull back. Notice that most of the times when we're in the fast lane, we stay in the fast lane without getting out of the fast lane. Let me put this on a 1-year graph just to see. In the fast lane without getting out of the fast lane. So what was your other stock? See how even when it rode the fast lane, it stayed within the band. So for this one, it's just a little different. That's a big, ginormous move. And that's the only thing that concerns me. Other than that, I like it. But that's the only, dang it, I hate when Joey does this. That's the only thing that I dislike is outside of the band.
So AIV is more like the motorcycle driving in the fast lane. The EXPD is more like the SUV driving in the fast lane. One's a little crazier than the other, but they both are moving pretty good.
That made absolutely no sense to me. All right. So go ahead, Jerry. What do you think?
I agree with you, Glenn. I think you can almost bet that in the next day or two, that stock's price is gonna come revert back to the mean, right? Because Bollinger Bands are based on moving averages, and when you get a price above or below a particular band, like we saw in October, right? The end of October when price pierced the lower band, you got a quick move right back into the middle there. So I don't think price is going to ride in that lane or in this kind of trajectory for too much longer. Likely going to get a pullback towards the center somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, Audrey says must have been some crazy news. I didn't hear any REIT news that would cause price to go from.
I'm with you.
I don't know.
Well,
yeah.
I was having a conversation with somebody about keep your eyes on REIT. Monty says Patrick mentioned Star Search within the Unisearch. I can't find it. Is it only accessible if you have ProTrader? And the answer to that is yes. Now, yes, but if I have the software, I can look at a Star Search layout without having ProTrader. But if Patrick found this by way of the Star Search Unisearch, yes, you have to have ProTrader in order to see that. So that's to answer your question, Monty. Are you still kicking yourself for not getting out of the market soon enough this year, only to miss getting back in and making big profits? That all stops today when you sign up for VectorVest risk-free for 99 cents. That's right, folks, 99 cents for 30 days. Stop missing out on market opportunities and try VectorVest today risk-free.